Hello, I'm Jake Boudrot, Civic Journalist at Tello Community Television. In this episode of Strait Talk, we speak with Phil Watson, captain of the Bluenose II, during a visit to Arichat on August 16th. According to the Provincial Department of Communities, Culture, Tourism and Heritage, the original Bluenose was launched as a Grand Banks fishing and racing schooner on March 26, 1921 in Lunenburg. When the Bluenose took home her first fisherman's trophy in October of 1921, the legend began. During the next 17 years, no challenger, American or Canadian, could wrest the trophy from Bluenose. She earned the title Queen of the North Atlantic and was well on her way to becoming a Canadian icon. The Bluenose came to symbolize Nova Scotia's prominence in the fishing and shipbuilding industries. She represented Canada around the world. In 1933, the Bluenose appeared at the Century of Progress World's Fair in Chicago and sailed to England's Silver Jubilee of King George V in 1935. The majestic image of the Bluenose has adorned the Canadian dime since 1937, along with 3 postage stamps, as well as the Nova Scotia license plate. The Bluenose II was launched in 1963, after the original Bluenose struck a reef off Île aux Vaches, Haiti on January 28, 1946. Bluenose II was gifted to the Government of Nova Scotia in 1971 and continues to serve as Nova Scotia's sailing ambassador. Bluenose II sails out of Lunenburg and visits ports throughout Nova Scotia and North America. It is regularly open to the public, offering cruises and onboard access. In its role as an ambassador, Bluenose II has been a frequent presence for trade visits and international promotions for Nova Scotia and Canada. The Bluenose II visited St. Peter's on August 14th, then traveled to Arichat on August 15th, where it stayed for 2 days before heading back to its home port of Lunenburg. Situated between the Bredor Lake and the Atlantic Ocean, St. Peter's has been a focal point for marine traffic for hundreds of years, and today is one of the most popular recreational boating areas in Cape Breton. Arichat's long history as a busy harbor started in 1786 when it was declared a customs house port. By 1801, Arichat's population swelled to 1,520 with a fleet of 192 ships. In 1811, more than 60 ships were built in Arichat, and by the mid-1800s, 413 ships were registered, but closer to 600 operated out of the port. Today, Arichat remains a vital commercial port that is an attraction for many recreational boaters. So you guys were in St. Peter's on Wednesday,
yes,
and then you came here yesterday. So maybe first get your impressions of St. Peter's and the canal, what you thought of that whole thing.
That's St. Peter's, that's the gate to heaven, isn't it? Yeah, so it's just a beautiful part of Cape Breton. There's some power lines there that make it impossible for us to travel through into the Bredor Lakes from that side, unfortunately, but it's it's a lovely little community. I love going there and anchoring off, and then the crew go in and have a look around. Yeah, it's a lovely place for us to visit. They can't go through there, through that canal. We're just too tall.
Oh.
So for us to go into the Bredor Lakes, we have to go into underneath the Seal Island Bridge, and even there we're too tall. We usually stop in North Sydney and lower our topmasts down. So it's one of those things you don't really realize how tall Bluenose is until you can put it into context or something.
Or come down to the wharf and look at how high the mast is. It's quite a size. You don't really get an idea of how big it is until even if you're back there, you don't quite get a good perspective until you're here and you really see it. And so maybe you can talk about yesterday. You guys came in full sail, I think, out in the strait, and then
we weren't full sail, but we certainly had sail up, and the wind flopped out at the end, so we were motor sailing, and
okay.
So we came in, and nice to see a crowd on the dock, and there were lots of boats out to meet us, and
yes,
that's really always warms our heart. And it's appreciated by the community or by us for the community to show that kind of support for the ship.
Yeah, and in it's a historic harbor, but it's also a very nice harbor. It's a deep harbor, and
it's a fantastic harbor.
Yeah.
So it's lovely, with the yacht club there and the premium seafoods here making their dock available to us. That's really appreciated, because that's a lot for them. And they've just redone the wharf here, and it's a fantastic place, a fantastic port for us to come to, and the hospitality here is at the top level.
Mm-hmm.
From the friendliness of the people. There's all kinds of tourists around that are camping or exploring Cape Breton, and they come here to see us, and the locals certainly come, and like to see the kids around. Lots of kids on the boat today, and that's always appreciated. We certainly have had deckhands from here in the past, and we look for the next generation coming up to be deckhands as well.
That's true. You've had a number of people from this area, the general area, that have served as crew members of the Bluenose over the years.
Yes, we have, and we'd love to have more. So it's always great to have young people from all different communities and all different places in Nova Scotia come and work on the ship and represent the ship and their own community in Nova Scotia.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, yesterday I know you guys came in. I think you got in a little earlier than 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we came in about, I think, across the end of the wharf about 10 to 2, and then we went over by the yacht club there and dropped sails and tied up just shortly after 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Did a little tour of the harbor too. You guys kind of went over there and came around.
And that's partially the physics of it, and where the channel leads us, because we're the draft of the vessel is 16 feet, so there's lots of shoals here that we have to pay attention to. And we're trying to stay in the middle of the deep water and not take too many risks. Yeah, but it's what a place. This Arichat is a lovely place to visit. The scenery is lovely, and the community is lovely and supportive.
Yeah, and yesterday I noted too, you guys opened it up at around 3, I think, for tours and that.
We opened till 8 o'clock last night, and today we opened at 10 o'clock this morning, and we'll be open again till 8 o'clock this evening.
And I'm looking around, there's a lot of people took advantage of the tours and are going around your deck and stuff.
Yeah, and yesterday we had just under 350 people visit the ship in that time, and
wow!
And we hope to see that many or more today.
Oh well, that's great, yeah. And I noticed there's quite a few tourists. There's local residents here, but there's I can notice quite a few tourists.
Yeah, we talked to people last night from all different walks of life, and people that had come to see the ship, but then they really had to go and find a campground and get some supper.
True enough, eh?
So, shelter, food, and then come see the ship.
No, that's great. It seems like there's people that follow the boat around from port to port. I noticed that a support system, and it seems there's like tourists and visitors that do that.
Yeah, there are, and some people will organize their vacations that they will come to the port that we're at. So it's one of the reasons I really enjoy coming to the out ports. One is because you get to see the real Nova Scotia here. It's much more traditional Nova Scotia here. And 2 is it brings people out of Halifax. Everyone's going to go to Halifax, but not everyone's going to come to Arichat. So if we can help bring people to Cape Breton or to St. Peter's or Arichat or the other places that we go, it's a really good thing. It's a really good use of the ship.
You have, I was trying to estimate your crew. How many?
There's 20 of us.
There's 20 of us.
So there's 6 of us that are full-time. So there's captain, chief engineer, chief mate, second mate, bosun, and a cook. So we come back every year. And then there's 14 young people, principally from Nova Scotia. Most of them are from Nova Scotia. We do have some from across Canada. So we are all Canadian and principally Nova Scotians. So it's Nova Scotians telling the Nova Scotia story.
How many places have you been to this summer?
It's been fairly limited this summer. We're doing a lot of harbor cruises for our time. That's how we make our money, basically. So we do that at Lunenburg and Halifax. But we've been down to Yarmouth, been to Pubnico, been to Mahone Bay, Princess Inlet, Western Shore, I've been to St. Peter's, and now here in Arichat.
And when is your season ending?
So we'll sail up until the last day of September. And then we take about 2 weeks to put her to bed and get her ready for the winter. So middle of October, and we all go home.
And you go back to Lunenburg, but it doesn't go into dry dock. It stays in the water, and
it stays in the water. Now this year we will pull her out of the water, and that's part of a 10-year sort of regulatory inspection. So that's every 5 years we have to pull her out of the water. This is 10 years.
Heaving line challenge.
And Transport Canada would conduct that
No,
inspection?
it's American Bureau of Shipping. So they're the regulatory body assigned by Transport Canada to look after us. So everyone these days, all the big ships have to pick some kind of classification society. It could be Lloyd's, Bureau Veritas, it could be just about anybody, classification society, and the owners picked American Bureau of Shipping.
Okay, well, that's great. And then it'll go through an inspection. I assume the inspection, it's a regular routine inspection. They
That's
check the
regular
boat.
routine. Yeah, so we'll check the boat through hulls, check the rudder, check the propellers, all the underwater stuff. We've done a lot of the other stuff in the spring before we started. So we'll do that, and then we'll give her a fresh coat of paint under the water, and
Oh, there she is.
we'll be back in hopefully in less than a month. It'll take to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then next season, when would your season start?
So the crew show up on the 1st of April, and then we do 2 months of putting the ship back together. We paint and varnish everything, rig the ship, train the crew, and then sort of end of May we start sailing with the crew, and then we'll be out traveling the waters again.
Great. Well, that's great. And I assume next season is going to be similar to this, visiting different communities.
The thing about here is that every season is different. Yeah. So we do hope to get out and visit communities, and we certainly push for that. And so Eastern Seaboard and around the Atlantic provinces. And, yeah.
That's great. No, that's great. I appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know you're busy. There's a lot of activity around here, but very much appreciate it. And
I appreciate you coming.
welcome
here
to
and
Arichat.
seeing us and helping us tell the story and helping us tell people that we're here.